and do I have only present and past and future?
Yeah, so you would only have past and future, but note that in the first case I gave you, where you did have past and future, it was fine for the woman to unalive you.
Wait, no. It was present and past, by the way.
What?
Wait, you said future?
What? Are you...
No, I recall present. I was consciously I recalled you saying I was conscious for 1 second or 5, and then I get unalived, which would be entailing that I have present and past. Now, if you want to say future, well, we're talking about the original hypothetical where I were to be looking at a wall or something, and then someone came up behind me and then pew me, right? So I think that was the example that we were talking about before.
That's not the original case that was given.
That was the original case we were talking about when we further
the original
engaged
case
in
that I gave was that you spawned into existence like 2 seconds ago, and I don't know, you get to have like all those experiences. Then you fall into a coma, then the woman attaches you to her and all that stuff. And would it be okay for her to unalive you? Obviously, it's stipulated you have like future experiences. The question is it okay for her to unalive you in that context?
What? Okay, so then you got so look, at that point, I would. Well, no. Okay, there was no stipulation. Okay, maybe you're thinking about two. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay, so maybe this hypothetical where say it's hypothetical 2. Let's write it down. So past. Okay, so I only have like past and future then.
Yeah. Like when you fall into a coma, that's really true of you, right? If you fall into a coma and you're no longer experiencing, you only have past experiences and you have future experiences. Obviously, it'd be wrong for a woman to unalive you for like autonomy.
Why do we think it's okay? Now we're gonna like express this, right? So because it seems like the proposition right now is like, look, if the view entails this, then X is the case, and X just stipulates that look, it's permissible in this case to get unalived, and they're saying, well, nope. Premise 2 is that it's always wrong to get unalived, all things considered. Now, what is the justification for that? I'm going to pick out that intuition. Well, yeah, I think that if you're going to give a reductio, it's going to be in the form of modus tollens. I'm going to ask you premise 2. What is the argument for premise 2?
I didn't offer an argument. I asked
yes, you did. You said that it's wrong, right? So let's just...
I asked you if you hold the view that it'd be wrong to unalive you.
Again, I want to be very clear. The argument is going to be, if my view were true, then there's a case like this that will be permissible.
I didn't ask. I didn't present an argument.
But premise 2. But that case is not permissible. Therefore, the view is false. I'm saying, why do we think premise 2 is true? Why do we think that?
Not present an argument. I asked you a question.
You're giving a reductio. If you're going to give a reductio, keep in mind, this is a conversation about giving me a reductio. I suspect reductio to be given in the form of modus tollens. I'm asking you, what is the argument for premise 2?
I've asked you a question. Do you think
what is the argument for premise 2? Stop being weaselly. I'm actually tired of this. I'm going to press you on premise 2. What is your argument for premise 2?
Of the argument that you have?
What is your argument for premise 2?
For the argument that wasn't provided?
What is the argument for premise 2? It was provided. It was implicitly provided with the line of reasoning here. Yes, I will recount the argument. I'm going to question the argument. So if the antecedent, if the view that I'm endorsing is true, then the hypothetical case is permissible. That's the entailing from my view. Presumably that's what you want to say about my view. Now, secondly, the premise 2 would be, it is wrong. It is wrong in that hypothetical that you gave. I'm asking you, why do we endorse premise 2?
Answer to the question.
What is the argument for premise 2?
What is the answer to the question?
What is the argument for premise 2? We're not moving away. I'm done with the weird thing where you obfuscate and not give an argument. It's just so annoying.
Argument for
if you're going to give a reductio, that's fine. I'm just going to press you with with premise 2. Why should anyone believe that the hypothetical case that you brought up is going to be wrong always?
Why should someone believe that it'd be wrong for a mother to unalive an innocent coma patient that she attached herself to? Is that the question?
Why are we introducing innocence part? Like, it was never stipulated in the conversation. Hello, lock in? No, let's try this again. Let's start it again. You gave the example. It was never stipulated. It was innocent or not innocent in this conversation. It's pretty clear, right? You were engaging with my thought experience, the way that I'm thinking about my view. Never introduced it's going to be like it's never introduced it's going to be innocent at all. Please lock in.
An argument
Why
also
should
wasn't
we
stipulated.
think the hypothetical case is going
An
to be wrong?
argument
And
also
explain it
wasn't
with the first,
stipulated.
with the no, not the first case, but for this new case that you brought up. For
An
the
argument
first new case is going to be the
also
case that
wasn't
you brought up,
stipulated.
where someone intentionally
argument
attaches to you,
Also wasn't stipulated.
intentionally attaches to
An
you,
argument also
and you
wasn't
only
stipulated.
have past and future, and the mother, or not mother, and the woman here, random woman down the street, only has present, past, and future. What is your argument against that? Why do we think it's going to be wrong?
Why is it wrong to unalive innocent coma patients? Is that the question?
Again, nice straw man. So again, we were not talking about that.
What are you talking about?
We're talking about the hypothetical case that you gave,
They're
which was
innocent? They're
no
coma patients?
stipulations that they're innocent.
What?
That's what happens when you're giving a thought experiment. You should actually
Oh my-
stipulate
wait, okay,
that
so
you're
this
going to do
guy's
that.
actually,
If
like,
not,
disabled or
that's
something,
it. We're
so
able to make
I
moves
might
saying,
just
look,
have to, like,
it was never
loud mic
stipulated,
now, I
and
guess,
that's it.
just
We
to
move
be
on
bad
from there.
faith,
So what is your argument for that?
Let's just go ahead and get the microphone on.
I asked you, do you have an argument for premise 2?
Yeah, so just to be clear, it's obviously implied that the coma patient is innocent.
Again, no, it was not
It's very,
implied.
very
And
obvious to someone who isn't
unless-
mentally disabled that
unless-
the coma
unless
patient
you're making
hasn't
the thought
done anything
experiment,
wrong in the case.
or
You're
you
getting
stipulated
blown the
that,
fuck
you've
out in this
not
conversation.
stipulated
Right?
the
We can't even
conversation.
hear you right
Lock
now.
in.
Your microphone isn't working
Lock
too well. Now,
in.
look, obviously
I
that's
think it's
implied.
pretty clear in
Now,
this
the same way
conversation.
that
You
you
should just
alleged
lock in.
that I provided an
Leo,
argument, that
just
an argument
lock
was
in.
alleged,
Tell
right? An
me
argument
what
was
the
implied,
argument
right?
for
So the
premise
same
2
way
is.
that I
Please
implied an
tell me.
argument
Stop
is the same way
obfuscating.
that I
You're
implied
a
the fact
nice
that the coma
dodger.
patient
Thank you for
was
being a
innocent,
dodger.
right?
I'm
It's
sorry,
very
you're
obvious
dodging the
that the
question
coma
right now. We're
patient
asking
is
you for
innocent.
the
And
truth
the
of
reason
premise
why the
2.
coma patient is
Stop
innocent
stipulating that
is
it's
because the
innocent. It was
innocent
never
hasn't
implied it's
done
innocent.
anything
It
wrong,
was never
right?
explicitly
So if it's the case that the coma patient hasn't done anything wrong,
Stop
then it's
modifying
just
the
the case
hypothetical
that
to
it's
just
innocent. And
meet your
notice
weird
how
aesthetic you have about the
nothing.
thought experiment.
Now notice
It will
how
never be
nothing in the
case. You
hypothetical
never stipulated
establishes that the coma
unless you
patient did something
want to,
wrong.
for whatever reason, unless you just want to have a conversation about that thought experiment, that's fine. Just give you what's premise 2. Jesus.
But it's obvious that the coma patient is innocent. And the reason this is salient is because you can make
Trying to
something
modify and trying to save and
not a
write your back
modifier.
on this
It's
weird
not a
stipulation
modifier.
that you
It's
never
obvious.
gave.
It's obvious.
I don't care if you think it's obvious or not obvious. I asked you.
Okay, wait,
Let's
Blues, are
engage
you
the
there?
thought
Blue, are you
experiment
there?
that you
Blue, are you
presented.
there? Blue, are you there?
You're
Yeah,
so
I'm
scared.
Do you think that it's obvious when someone gives a coma
Who
patient
cares
reductio
about
that
some
the coma
other
patient?
person's like a thought experiment?
It's obvious that the coma patient is innocent in a reductio that someone would give. Is that like obvious
Yeah,
to someone who
that's
doesn't have
obvious.
autism? Okay, so Moxie, it seems like you have
I don't
autism
care
there,
whether
right?
he thinks
And the
it's
reason
obvious
you
or
have
not obvious.
autism is because it's just the case that people
Wait,
who have
do you
autism
not-
aren't able to
thinks
pick
that.
up on this very, very
I
simple
ask you,
inference,
look,
right?
Hey,
stop
Moxie,
pivoting
you
away.
don't think it's already
Stop pivoting away.
stipulated that it's already innocent? You don't
Stop
think that's
pivoting away. What
stipulated?
is happening?
Wait, you don't think it's innocent when someone
I
gives a
don't care
conditional
about the
answer?
thought. I don't care right now about whatever stipulation,
Okay,
this
you don't
ad hoc
care?
explanation of like a thought experiment. Who cares about that? I care about the things he explicitly said in the conversation. I don't care of the question
Imply
people
that
want to
it's
have me.
innocent.
I asked a question.
If I
first.
say-
asked
if
what
I
is
say
the
the
truth
little
of the matter
girl-
for premise
so
two?
bad. He also
If I say-
clearly
if
died
I
on
What
say-
the
is
show,
the
and now he's
truth
a
of the matter for
killer.
premise two?
I'm gonna go have a wank.
If I what the hell? Anyways, if I
There's
say
not
an 8-year-old,
significant-
if
there's
I
not
say
a
an
morally
8-year-old's in a
significant
Leo,
coma,
difference between a
what
coma
is the
wait,
patient-
truth for
Moxie,
premise
if I
two?
say if I say an
What
8-year-old's in
is
a
the
coma,
argument for premise true,
wait,
Leo?
Moxie, if I say an 8-year-old's in a coma, do you think they're innocent or not? Like, obviously, it's
Thought,
implied that they're innocent.
Luke, are you tracking? Look, you weren't here for the conversation.
What do you mean? I'm not here. I'm literally hosting the
Hey,
fucking
literally
live.
the
I'm
mod.
not
No,
even
you're
here.
you're
It's
dating.
like the
hosting
second
the
autistic inference that's
Look,
being
I-
made
I'm
in this
literally
conversation,
hosting
by
the
the way.
We're trying to save them
I'm
by
literally
giving
hosting
another weird
Thank you.
hypothetical that was never brought up. I want to engage with Leo's
And
hypothetical.
also, you literally said that he gave an argument he never did, by the way.
The same way. Wait, so
he-
notice how the same way
No,
that an
he-
argument
No, I want to
is
be clear.
implied by what I
Leo
said.
did
the
present
same way
an
it's
argument.
implied.
He
Wait, so
presented a reductio.
What?
Understand reductios will be given in the form
I
of a notice
asked
Collins.
you a question.
I presented the argument. that he was
asked you a
trying to say,
question.
which is just like if
I
my view were
asked you
true,
a
then
question.
this thought experiment would be true.
I asked you a
The
question.
permissibility of
You hold
the
questions-
permissibility
do you
of
think
that
questions are
thought experiment be
propositional?
true.
Do you think
Yet
questions are
it's not the
propositional?
case that the premise two would
Hello?
be, but no,
Hello?
thought experiment is morally impermissible always. So I'm asking, look, what is the truth for the premise two? I don't care. I just want an argument, please. If not, then that's it. Your reductio doesn't even land because
provide an
you didn't even
argument.
justify you didn't even justify the premise two case in order for it to be like a negation of Q.
I didn't present an argument again. This is the second time.
You
you're
oh
failing
my
to
god,
yourself.
hello. Okay, true or false? Did you try to give a reductio towards my view?
I asked you a question.
Nope. Again,
Now,
let's try it
when
again.
you say, did I try to give a reductio?
Did you try
is
to
that
do a
just to say-
reductio on my view?
Is that to say, did I ask you a question that would
Nope.
lead to a
Let's try
result
it
that I
again.
find absurd?
Was it
Okay,
a
I'm
reductio they
unclear
were
on what you're
trying to
asking.
do with my view?
I'm unclear on what you're asking.
I don't care. So when obviousness, I want to be clear. So then when you appeal to obviousness, it's not so it's not relevant in it anymore. Like it's not obvious to you. You can't use your brain.
Okay, so there's like two senses of reductios that I
Oh my
understand,
god!
right? So under
There's
the
no
first
two
sense,
senses of
if
reductio.
you mean-
It's just you either have this weird thing that TikTokers want to talk about as reductios, or reductios in the sense that people
I
give in
think
literature,
there's
which is
sure,
obviously
I mean,
just a
look, I can
negation
just entail this
of
derail,
the implication
sure, so-
here of the truth of the view,
Okay. Well,
and
I want to
the
be very
implications
okay, so,
of it, and
look,
then
I
saying,
can
look, if the
give
implications
the argument.
entails a
My issue
contradiction,
here is that
in this
I think
case,
that it's
negation
holy
of that,
shit.
you
Can I
think that
speak?
it's not wrong.
The reason I think it's
not permissible, It's
uncharitable.
wrong. In fact, seriously wrong. I'm asking, look,
It
what is
follows from
implica-
something
why do we
being not
believe in premise
permissible
two?
that it's wrong. It follows from something being not permissible that it's wrong. By the way,
Let's
So-
talk. Let's long.
that was a
real.
nice movement.
I just want you
anyways,
to give the argument. I'm tired of you
I
pivoting
just
away.
okay. I want to be very clear on what premise.
You're
two
not
is.
being clear. I promise you. Whenever people say "I want to be very clear," or
The reason I
look,
want to be
just
clear
to clarify,
is because
you people
it's-
never do
because
these
the coma
these
patient
conversations
is innocent,
at all.
right? So
Please
if
just
you
give an
ask
argument.
me for it being wrong in all cases,
Give
right,
an
and it
argument.
just turns out, that the coma patient isn't innocent, that might be a salient particular that might actually challenge the status of it being wrong. But obviously, to anyone who isn't autistic, it is the case the coma patient is innocent, right? So because the coma patient is innocent, which you refuse to accept, by the way, I'm not actually able to provide the hypothetical or argue for why it's wrong, because if it was the case the coma patient, did. And there's obviously a bunch of things that have to be stipulated that are obvious stipulations, like, it doesn't cure world hunger to save the life of the coma patient. That's another thing that's obvious. Obviously, these things are obviously stipulated in the hypothetical, okay? They just weren't directly stipulated. So we just want to take a common case. that's
I
happening.
don't care about this weird contrived post hoc thing about the conversation.
It's
Who
not
cares?
post hoc.
I asked you. Look, I think that I can take so much where someone that I'm talking to isn't giving an argument, is posturing to the room that there is no argument. Implicitly, you were trying to give a reductio. It's so obviously fucking the case
And
that
implicitly,
whenever
wait,
you
okay,
were
sure, but
trying to give the
implicitly-
argument, it's that you never
But
supposed to be
Moxie,
innocent. I'm so sorry, but
implicitly,
look, if you're gonna get shit, if you're gonna give shit to people, right? Whenever they take your thought experiment and they there wasn't any implicit move here at all, and they look, this is what possibly mean, and then you chimp out. And I think most people in this sort of spaces would chimp out if the person you're giving the thought experiment tries to modify a bit of it, right? Because it was left ambiguous and there's a possible move. If you don't like those cases, why the fuck should I allow you to make possible moves that weren't stipulated in the conversation? It's so weird. So it's such a fucking weird
the
double standard
same way I'm
with that.
okay with you saying that I provided an argument, even though I obviously didn't. Providing an argument means you give a set of premises
So-
that lead to a conclusion, which I didn't, by the way.
I'm sorry that
So
you didn't
if
express
that
the
move is
premises
okay-
down, but it's pretty clear that if the line of reasoning here is going to be turned into a premise, if you're taking my view, right? You're thinking, look, let's actually accept your view for the sake of the conversation. You're telling me in this thought experiment that it is permissible. The answer is yes, right? Now, if you're saying, well, no, that is so obviously wrong. Like, oh my god, what? You're so wrong for saying that. Yeah. And then this is where you can turn it into premise two. You can say, well, look, the negation of the implication of the antecedent implies a contradiction, and thus, which one is it?
I think that's
from it's permissible or not permissible.
Right,
you're getting it from it's not permissible, and thus that's a reductive you're getting. You're giving the conversation. That's
obvious. I think it's also obvious.
So I want to be very clear. You're just pivoting the conversation. You don't want to defend a reductio. You don't want to defend a reductio.
I think if that's obvious, it's also obvious, right? And it also would be obvious that fact that I'm muting because I literally cannot get a word in.
Well, I just gave it. Just give the argument premise two. If not, that's it.
If premise two is interpreted as all cases, that's not the reductio that I was trying to give.
Oh my god!
So I'm not going to give an argument to something I wasn't proposing. Obviously, what I'm proposing is that there isn't some crazy amount of disutility that's caused. It's not the case that.
Why are we appealing to utility points now? What is happening?
Oh my. Do you not appreciate the move that I made? Do you understand why I brought that up?
Stop doing the ask yourself mannerisms. Okay, I asked you. Do you have an argument for premise two? Please.
Wait. If premise two is interpreted the way that you're interpreting it, I don't have an argument for it because that's not what I articulated. What I articulated had obvious moves that someone who is an autistic would infer, which is that
I agree that you might not be able to recount the moves that you're giving out.
Utility that's given. Obviously, it's not the case it's going to stop world hunger. Obviously, it's not the case it's going to cure cancer. Obviously, those things are stipulated, right? That's very, very obvious. That's a very, very dumb fucking pedantic point to say that's not. And I think the same
it's
point
pretty
about
clear
the
that if we're
patient's
going to
innocence
evaluate
is also
the
true.
argument based on like the entailments of it and the truth of it, like it seems like we're only focusing on specific
what are you
traits
saying?
here that the situation is about, right? The specific situation is about is that someone is in a conflict of interest. It seems that like you don't care too much about the intentions here. Too much about the conversation, right? It was pretty clear that you stipulated that the intentions don't matter in the case, and she just did it for whatever reason, right? And you're only evaluating whether or not is the moral status dependent on capacities for, this aggregation of either having past, present, future, more than just someone having, present and past, etc. And that's the thing that I'm asking you to give an argument for.
Given
right?
that's
saying,
given
why
that's
is it
true,
still wrong despite the evaluations of the moral status?
Given that that's true, is it fair to assume that removing the coma patient in this case?
There's no child in the scenario. You're talking about an adult. Conversation.
You've been
Why are you
acting like a
modifying?
child.
Why are you trying to use like weird language to make it seem like
first of all,
it's an insane thing to say?
First of all, you've been
Again,
acting like
you
a child
then
this entire
stipulated it's
conversation.
about me. It's a hypothetical about me and some random stranger.
You've been acting like a child this entire conversation.
I don't care whether you think so.
Maybe
I
it is
asked
the
for an
case
argument.
that
You're
you
not
are a
delivering.
child,
And stop
so
doing the weird
it
rhetoric
wouldn't
thing. It's not.
actually be the case.
Look, you
No, I
agree
wouldn't
the
be
performance
stipulating
doesn't really work for the truth of the argument, right? So I don't know why you keep doing that.
Okay, so in the case that I gave, where let's just call you an adult, even though I don't really believe that, but let's just assume that you're an adult, right? So an adult
I don't care what
was
you
put
think.
into
You're
a
a
state
child
of
as well.
dependency by the woman, right? Do you think that it's stipulated, or do you think it's reasonable to infer that in this case it's going to cure cancer if you unplug? Is that a reasonable thing?
Why
to
are we
infer?
talking about cancer now?
You're
I'm
retarded.
so
You're
lost.
actually like brain dead.
I
Holy shit.
think it's pretty clear.
Yeah, so I can
think
just
it's pretty
establish
clear
the
that you're
direct
just
relevance
pivoting the
of the question
conversation.
right
You have
now.
nothing else to say.
So I can
asked
just
you for
substantiate the
situation
direct
premise two.
relevance of the
You're
question
pivoting
now.
You're
So the
asking
direct
relevant
relevance of the
questions.
question is just
Dude,
very,
come on,
very
lock
simple.
in.
Right? So the direct relevance of the question is just that if it's the case that you want to be an uncharitable dumb fuck and interpret
I don't think that
my
you
argument
think that.
as talking
I
about a
genuinely
4
believe
LX
that
statement,
you think that you're
right,
being unreasonable in this
obviously, right? Obviously,
I know it's
this would
obviously that you're being
include cases
unreasonable.
of saving
I went
the
out
world from cancer.
length. I went out on
stipulate those
length
cases out.
to try to meet
It's
you on your
talking
ends.
about the
Doesn't
typical
seem
case.
so.
It's
I've
talking
been
about
charitable
the
and
typical
look,
case.
if your
It's talking
argument
about
stops
the
bugging out, by
typical
the way,
case.
stop
It's talking
bugging out.
about the typical
Now,
case.
I think it's pretty
The
clear
typical
that when
case,
I went
the coma
out of my
patient
way
is innocent. In the typical case, the coma patient is innocent.
gave you
In the
the
typical
argument,
case,
right,
it
in this
won't cure cancer. These are all true of the typical case.
You're crying.
So it's not a fair point to
I
make.
asked you, do you have an
that-
argument?
I have an argument for the case that I'm
9,
presenting, but you're
8,
unclear on what it is.
6. Oh, this guy's counting numbers. Okay, but look,
What are you talking about?
I'm asking for the argument. I'm getting bored. If you're not going to present the argument and the justification,
If it's the case that there isn't a significant decrease in moral value when you lose
just
consciousness
right
for a
now,
second,
give an
then
argument
it's the
to you.
case that
or give an argument against what my views are. At that point, I'm just fine holding it. That's it. GG's.
you literally said that. I asked you a yes or no question. Are you going to answer the yes or no question, by the way, dumb fuck? Are you going to answer the yes or no question that I asked?
You're
Are you going
losing.
to answer the yes or no question?
You're
Yes or
losing
no? Is it
substance.
okay to unalive you?
What is happening?
Yes or no? Is it okay to unalive you in that case? Yes or no?
Again,
Again,
you are
dodge
not
number 1. Yes or no? Is it okay to
deaf.
unalive you?
And you actually
You're
heard
not
the
answering the
conversation, and now
question.
you're
You're
just
not
trying to
answering
feel
the
just
question
informative.
that's being asked.
You would have heard
You're
the
not
answer before,
answering
and you
the question
acknowledged the
that's
answer.
being
It's
asked.
so
You're not
obvious
answering the
right
question
now.
that's being asked.
You're desperately
You're not
trying
answering
to
the
own
question
on
that's
the
being
fucking
asked.
first
You're not
premise and
answering
never
the
justify
question that's
and
being
implicitly
asked.
just assume
You're
premise
not
2 being the case.
answering
I'm
the
asking
question
you,
that's being
what is
asked.
the
You're
argument for
not
premise 2?
answering
If you're not
the
gonna
question
accept
that's
it,
being
if you're
asked.
not giving an argument
You're
for it,
not answering the
stop.
question that's being
I'm
asked.
justifying holding it.
You're
You
not
tell me otherwise
answering.
because you
You're
don't have an
dodging the
argument.
question right now. You're
Lock
dodging the question.
in.
I didn't provide an argument.
You
I asked
dumb
you a
fuck.
question, and you're not answering the question because you're not.
Again,
listening.
I've
'Cause
answered
you're
the
not
question
linear.
3
You're not
times, by the
respectful.
way.
Because you're
and
not
I'm
polite,
gonna
right?
do it for
Because
the
you
4th
can't
time
answer
for
a
you to
yes
just
or no
say,
question, right?
Isn't this ridiculous, right, guys?
Oh, the answer was what's
It's permissible. Now, I asked you before.
wait. You have a
I'm
view
gonna
that
speak.
it's
I'm gonna speak.
permissible?
Oh my god! Oh, what's insane?
Wait.
I
I
asked
want to
you.
be very, very clear here. You think it'd be permissible that
What
if
is
you fell
premise
into
2?
a coma?
What is the
I know,
argument for premise 2?
Just hold on there. Just calm down.
No, we're not doing this weird
So,
thing.
if it was the case that
What is
holy
your
shit,
premise
dude.
2?
Just calm down for a second. Oh my god.
Yes. What is the argument for premise 2?
I just want to be very, very clear on
I
what you're
don't
signing
care
off
about
on.
you being clear. You're just being performative.
I
asked
can't
you for
get
the subject
clarity. I'm
premise
actually
too.
unclear on what you said, so I just
I
want to
don't
get clarity.
care. I don't care.
You
I
don't.
don't care that you
So you're
care.
bad faith. You're just being bad faith
What
right
is
now,
your
right?
look?
You're literally being bad
I
faith.
expressed the
You
answer
won't let me get
4
clarity.
times now.
You won't let me get
Given now
clarity on the case.
for the thing that 11 piped up
You
for just
won't let
getting to
me
answer
get
again
clarity.
for the 4th time.
You won't let me get
Sorry,
clarity.
you're for performance
11,
just to
he's
make
not
people
letting me
think,
get
whoa,
clarity.
that's insane, but never justifying why that's
He's
insane.
not
I asked you for the truth of
allowing
premise
me
2.
to
You're not going to give
get
it.
clarity.
Stop being performative.
He's not allowing me to get clarity.
What clarity? I'm asking for premise 2. What do you
I'm
mean?
unclear on your answer to the question.
Oh my god.
So
For the
are
4th
you
time
in
already?
fact
Really?
saying that if
I think
you
each
were
time
to
you
stop
say you're
experiencing,
unclear,
if you
whenever
were to
I
stop,
presented in a
if you
clear
were to
manner,
stop
without
experiencing,
this screaming back and
so
forth,
just to be
you
clear,
heard the
be clear,
argument, you heard the implication.
just to be clear, if you were to stop experiencing for like, I don't know,
You're
5
being
months, it'd be okay for someone to unalive you if they
you're
were
being
attached to you
performative right
and
now.
they
Oh
put
my
you in
god.
that state of dependency. Like that's actually fucking insane. Why would I want to engage with someone like that?
Why?
Like what?
Then you're gonna run away.
Why would I engage with
Premise
this?
2 is on the table right now. You're not gonna you're gonna be
Why would
performative.
I
You don't
engage
care
with
about
someone like
substance.
this?
You just want to do this weird TikTok thing that people just are brain rotted about. You just want to act and spurg out. When someone challenges you on the weird assumptions you make, you want to pivot away saying, I don't want to engage with this guy. This sounds ridiculous. Then why have the conversation in the first place?
Sure.
You
If it's
obviously
the
wanted to have a
case,
conversation with me, and you knew about my views beforehand. I give you the argument. You have not much else to give a rebuttal,
literally
except
bit
we're
a
just
bullet.
doing the weird
You
thing where
bit
you
a
pivot to
massive
asking
bullet.
for name the trade, which you butchered, by the way, because part of the premises
What?
are in the assumption that it could be trade equalized and will still retain moral value, which I don't affirm, nor was it implicitly affirmed in the conversation. Again, this is just so sad.
Wait, so and like if the coma
And
patient
I
was
want to be very
black, you'd
clear.
have
You
like you're
butchered on
okay
the
with like
entity thing,
genociding black
and now
babies,
you're going to butcher
presumably?
again because you're not going to provide premise 2, and this is going to be a failed argument. Go ahead.
I mean, yeah. So if it's the case that there isn't a huge value, a huge difference in value
God.
between a coma patient, 1 second before experiencing and a coma patient right when they regain experiences, then it's the case that premise 2 is likely true. Now what I said.
Wait. Okay, I asked you. Okay, what is the thought experiment that you're currently presenting? Because I don't want you to straw man, and say actually something else. So the thought experiment was originally about me being in the comatose case, and someone random woman unplugs and is sustaining my life. Now you then say for whatever reason, right? You're saying, look, in a situation where, in the situation I said, look, I think it's pretty obvious, right? At face value, it is wrong, right? But only all things considered, if you're evaluating only like which interest would win out, if it's a life death situation for the mother as well, or
If it's
the
a
woman in
life
this
death
case,
situation.
presumably it was you're giving a violinist style argument. Presumably that's kind of the thing, or unless you just want to modify it in your own way, that's fine. Okay, well it's not
Okay, you're
stipulated.
being bad
It's not
faith now.
stipulated then. It's not stipulated in a live death situation. Again, it's still unintuitive, right? Well, it's unintuitive to say that it's permissible at face value. No, it's not, right? It's wrong at face value. Now, I said all things considered, if we were to deliberate strongly on this and reconsider just your views on just moral statuses, yeah, then if gradation is true, then yeah, the interest would be in favor of her, given that it would be violating her autonomy to some extent in some way. And then we'd say, look, it might be permissible. Then at that point, then the conversation would just be, whoa, okay, why do we think it's going to be always wrong in that circumstance? Now, I never heard an argument for that. You're just saying, well, it's going to be likely the case. Why? You keep stipulating. It might just be begging the question for
Likely
the
the case because of the fact that there isn't a huge difference in the moral value between coma patients.
Okay, when
and
you talk
non-coma
about the moral
patients.
value, when you talk about the differences there, what are you appealing to? What is the standard there?
Yeah, well, there's like multiple readings that you could use. So, like in one sense, I'm talking about like my preferences.
I don't care about your preferences. Okay, wait.
So what are you
I want to be
talking
clear.
about when you talk about
I want to be
morality?
very clear. I want to be very clear. So if the consequent being permissible meaning that with respect towards the moral standard, it's a violation of, or it is and it's permissive. There is a prohibition of. How is it the same proposition of it being your preferences? I'm confused. It seems like we're expressing two different propositions. It seems like you're saying It's
When
just,
you say
so I want to
something's
be very,
permissible, I
I'm
might
gonna
be
write the
unclear
argument. I'm
on
gonna
what you're
write the
trying to
argument.
say
Right?
there.
I'm gonna write the argument. Stop. So it
Generally,
seems
we're
like,
talking about preference.
oh my
I mean,
god, stop with the
are you
monologue.
alluding
Okay,
to
so
something else?
it might be the case that you're okay. This is the way that I'm thinking. Okay,
We might be talking about like harm. I hold the
Q
view that there's more
expressing
harm in that case as well.
Q expressing. Stop.
Stop over
It
talking.
seems like when we're talking about the argument, it seems like Q is just expressing, right? That either it's in
Wait, like I literally
congruent
like
or
okay,
it's
11, Jake. Do you
not.
want to
There's no
engage with this guy? Like,
prohibition
there's
with the moral
literally no
standard
point.
to do the action.
Like he literally
Yet,
said
it
that
seems
it's
like when
okay
I'm
to
speaking to
unalive
you
coma
now,
patients if you
right? You
plug
said there's a reading
into
of
them.
it,
Like it's
or it's
ridiculous.
just QR. It's just R, right?
Like he doesn't even
You're
value
saying
his own life.
P
He thinks that it'd be okay
implies,
for someone to unalive him
you
if he were
know,
to
it
just
seems
like
like
plug
you're
into a
saying
woman.
P
Like this
implies
guy's
R,
literally
right?
insane. Why would I engage with
Now
someone like this?
that's fine. Now I think that
I,
no one is talking about R. I think people are talking about Q. So you're just
you're literally schizo.
so right now. What do you mean schizo?
Like you don't value your own life.
And then you're doing the performative things. This is so sad. You don't actually have an argument. You just want to do the weird TikTok performance, and then you don't want to be substantive at all.
The fuck out. You literally got reducted. Like there's nothing left to say. What
Again,
is there
you
to
keep
say?
saying reductio. There's no reductio. You just keep saying, "Hey, I don't like it." Who cares? I don't care. The debate is whether the proposition isn't.
I would say
Hey,
most
if my
people,
view were true, would you care about it? That wasn't the conversation. The
most
conversation with
people on the app.
whether Q denotes that there's a violation of a moral standard or there's a prohibition. And they're not a prohibition of the moral standard there.
The point is that most people's concept of morality.
I don't care. I don't care about most
my God.
concepts.
Okay.
You're talking to
Look,
me.
do you
If it's
agree
an
that-
internal
look,
critique
okay,
about the
sure.
implications of the argument, we're talking about the
Coma
view being
patients
true,
have
my
more
view being
moral
true,
value.
and
Coma
seeing
patients have more
is
moral value
entailed
than
by that.
animals, right? Coma patients have more moral value than animals, and it'd be unacceptable to do this type of thing to
I
an animal.
think that you're just
And presumably, as a vegan, you'd
What
agree
is
with that,
happening?
right? As a vegan, you probably agree
What
that
is
it'd be
happening?
impermissible
So
to do
then-
something like this with an animal, right? So we can
what
just
is what is
so
the
that could just be
consequence?
the argument,
What
right?
is the
So-
consequence? Jesus
the
Christ!
consequent is so if it's the case, it'd be wrong to do something like this to a dog. Then it'd be wrong to do
No,
something
I'm
like
not
this
talking
to a
about
coma
that.
patient.
I'm not talking about
It's
that. I'm
wrong to
talking
do
about the
something like
the
this to a
reductio you were
dog.
trying to land,
Therefore,
which you
it's wrong
failed.
to
You
do this
failed
to a
landing
coma
the
patient.
reductio.
So what
I'm
premise
asking
do you
you-
disagree with there?
I'm asking you, Leo.
So what
please.
premise do you disagree with there?
Leo, stop trying to
Okay,
steamroll.
so
You're not good
Leo,
at it.
stop
I
is
asked
not
you
an
before,
answer to the question.
Hey, in this
So let's
conversation,
just go ahead and get a yes
when
or no
we're
answer
talking about
to
the
the question.
reductio, what is Q denoting here? You said there's multiple readings of it. You gave your first reading about your preferences. We said, who cares about that? You're talking about a separate other premise that's not being affirmed in this conversation. So what is the second reading then?
Yeah, I mean, I might take like a primitive reading about what it means for
What
me to
the
be permissible.
fuck? Okay, so now you're gonna say, well, I don't really know the truth conditions for it. You know, it's really vague to me. It's really opaque to me. Okay, well, I'm talking about the content there. I'm asking you, what is it supposed to be reading?
So I literally just explained to you that okay,
No,
like what it means
you
for me to be permissible
you
is
explained the
that
truth conditions being
wrong.
opaque.
Okay, so that
You
like it's wrong.
explained the truth
You
conditions
shouldn't
being
do it.
opaque. That's different from
Like
the
it's
content
wrong.
of
It
that
shouldn't.
sentence. You
Like
can
it's
just
wrong.
try to lock in or
You
something,
shouldn't
please.
do it. When you take into account the reasons for the action and against the action, you have more reasons for the action. So those are different ways of reiterating this concept.
No,
I'm not sure it can be. Okay, we can also.
I'm not. That's not what
take
I'm saying.
A reductionist model where we talk about
What is happening?
harm. I take it to be the case there's more harm
Oh,
done
now
to
you're
the
pivoting
fetus
something
than the
else,
mother.
dude.
So those another type of reading that you could offer. Now, I don't really want to continue this conversation because you literally said that it'd be okay to unalive a coma patient if someone just decided to attach to them and they could just unalive them. I feel like that's like insane. Wait, like under your view, could they like do
I
this
think
like
it's
add into them?
insane, and I have no argument.
Could they, like,
and then
do this
I
a bunch
asked for
of
you
ti-
to
wait,
give
wait,
the readings
Moxie,
there.
like-
You gave something.
Moxie, like under your view, could they like do this like a billion times or like a million times? Like when
Yeah,
would you cut it off?
You're obviously pitting.
Sorry, like when would you cut it off? Like that's just a
Jesus
yes or no
Christ,
question.
reading.
Yes
If
or
you
no?
wanna
Would you
have a
cut it off
conversation,
after
it's
5?
just a weird thing where you just do performance. That's fine.
Like okay, there's really no point in engaging with this guy. Like this is insane.
Dude, you literally no argument being presented. You're just saying my
like,
feelings,
what am I
my
supposed
feelings
to
in the
do
matter,
here? What am I
and then
supposed
that's
to
it. It's like, okay, well, no one's disputing about your feelings at all. I think the argument will still remain true, and
I said that generally when I talk about what's
there's
right and wrong,
coherence with your
I'm
feelings
talking
and mine
about my
being true,
I'm
and the
generally
argument
talking
and
about
the
my
view that I'm expressing
preferences.
being true. Like, there's literally no
I'm
contradictions.
generally talking about my preferences. Are you talking about something else? Maybe I could tell you if the proposition's true under your reading of moral permissibility. I generally talk about my preferences in these conversations.
I don't care. Oh, that's the thing. No one is under the assumption that, hey, whenever we're talking with Leo, big Leo debates, we're talking about his preferences that matter. No one thinks that. people
Okay, so
come to the discussion
what's
saying,
the
look,
reading of moral
if
permissibility
if
that's
the
being
moral
given?
argument is sound, right, presumably here, we think that, look, if people are getting accepted or not, right, or
Look,
that
I'm
a moral
literally just
standard
trying to
either
be
promotes
conceptually.
it, or that there's a prohibition against it or something. That's what people generally want to say in the matter. But no one's talking about Big Leo's debates preferences.
Okay, so what are they
Trust,
talking about? What are they talking about if not
they're
preferences?
talking about moral standards, either that they're either in a conformity to, or that they're
Okay,
not conformity to. That's
what
it. So
determines
either
those
we think
moral
that there's a
standards? Like
prohibition against, or there's not a prohibition
okay, so
against it.
and what would determine those moral standards? Like, are you talking about like natural properties that are stance independent,
Why
like
are we?
emotions? Because
No,
because like, look, I
we're
tried to
talking
answer the
about the
question.
reading. We're talking about the reading of the content of what it means. No
I'm
one's talking
unclear
about,
on what it
hey,
means
Big
if you're
Leo's
not
preferences or
if you're
not.
not talking
I
about
want I
preferences.
want you to lock in.
I'm unclear on what it means if you're not talking about preferences. What do you mean
That's
if
a
you're not
still
talking about
issue in your
preferences?
point. You don't know what it means. Good luck.
What? I mean, look,
What?
I've had a lot of
What?
success in these types of conversations when I just talk about my preferences because most
Maybe
people
low
aren't
level
insane.
people, maybe
Most
low
people
level
value their
people. I'm
lives. Most
sorry,
people
but
aren't
maybe
suicidal. Most people aren't
low level
autistic.
people gaslighting you think that they understand what you're saying. No, they don't. I'm
What?
sorry. People just are
So
just
what are
they're
you
just gonna
talking? I
wave.
don't
They're
know
gonna
what
wave
you're
their hand
talking
saying,
about
"Yeah,
when
I
you
mean, I
say it's
understand what you're saying." They don't
permissible.
have no clue what
I
they're
don't
saying.
understand what you're saying when you say it's permissible.
I don't
When you
care.
ask me
And
for an
that's your
argument,
fault. When
when
in
you
the same
ask
way,
me
in the
for an
same attitude,
argument,
in fact,
I
that
don't know
you
what you're
treat
asking me
me
for an argument for
dismissive
because I have no
of
clue
the way
what the
that
fuck
I
the
question you
conclusion
on
of
your
the argument is
primitive,
supposed to
and
be.
you're like, "Wow, I mean,
I have a primitive
that's just what a
notion
primitive
of
is."
morality. It's like a
That's it.
common
Whatever.
concept that
Same
people have.
attitude. I'm applying the same case here. Well, who cares?
I also
Sorry, you don't
understand
understand it. You're
morality to
not one of the
be
smartest people
talking
here that were
about
competent with the English language.
bodily
My bad.
autonomy. I understand people to be talking about harm. I think that we have good reasons to
Y'all
preserve
talking
the
mad at
fetus's bodily
time,
autonomy.
damn, bro.
I mean, like,
Now, I want to be very clear in
I
this
don't
conversation.
understand what
Look,
you want
you
from me,
have
bro.
no. I
Like,
agree
there's
that you
literally
don't
no
have no
point.
clue what people are saying. That's fine.
But
How is
I'm
that an
under the
issue with the
impression that a lot
argument
of
being
people are talking
presented?
about their
I'm sorry.
preferences.
What is the so in virtue of you being unable to conceptually being
I'm
deficient
asking what you're
on the
saying.
concept, you conceptually being deficient in the
Okay.
concept. What?
When
How
you
does it say
say
anything about the
when
truth of
you
the matter in the
say
conversation?
when you say what's the argument that it's impermissible, what's meant by impermissible there? I told you what I mean by impermissible.
Permissible, there's going to be three. So funny thing enough, there's going to be two views on it, right? If you were to be read in literature, so there's either a thick view or a thin view. Thin view here referring to just like the not wrong, right? Not wrong would be the first view. That would be the thin view, and the thick view of permissibility would just mean and not wrong is not sufficient, right? And we're talking about the sort of like sufficient property there, that's also doing most of the work there. So those are the two readings of what permissible or not
And what's
permissible
meant by wrong
means.
there?
Now, I want to be very clear. I given you what it means.
I don't
You're
know what
now
wrong means.
pivoting.
I
You're
don't
now pivoting to
understand what
something
you're.
else. You're
Holy
gonna do
fuck!
that.
Are
What
you
is what
retarded? I don't
means?
know what you
What?
mean by wrong when you say that permissible means
I
not
don't know
wrong.
what define.
Obviously, I could have given
Define.
such an analysis. That's why I said that primitivist views are attractive.
You're
This
pivoting.
just seems like a primitivist view because you're using a
You're
fucking
so
synonym, dumb fuck.
suck at like doing the
You're
weird
literally
meaning.
using
Oh my god,
deontic
this is so
terms as
sad.
substitutes
Not
for
only
deontic
let's
terms.
actually lay out the blunders. So entity failed, right? You butchered it. You tried to
What?
give us an RV. You tried to do,
Okay, this is just embarrassing
again,
for
you
you.
didn't
Like
do
you're
that.
not performing well. This is not
Again, in
attractive.
this conversation, you're now doing the weird like performance thing. We're just like doing the define thing. Okay, define then. I don't know. We can just do the exact same thing. We
What?
can be like very
Okay, look. If all
arbitrary
you
here,
mean,
and we
look,
can
if
just be
all
very
you
pedantic
mean,
in the
if
conversation.
all you
Or you just
mean,
want to use
holy
this
fuck,
weird.
if all you mean by impermissible is that it's not wrong, and you refuse to give an analysis of wrong, I don't really know what you're saying there.
You can
I
either,
understand wrong to be preference violations. I offered you that analysis. You agreed that what I was saying was true under that analysis. I also said I'm sympathetic to a
abuse
primitivist position, right,
abuse
where wrong is kind of irreducible. You
abuse
just kind of explain deontic terms in
I
terms of other deontic terms, which is
they're
exactly what you're
abuse
doing when you explain wrongness in types of not being permissible. That's exactly the two accounts that I provided. Now, if you want to say something more informative, maybe you want to reduce it to natural properties, maybe you want to reduce it to people emotions, you can go ahead and do that. But until then, I don't really know what you're talking about. Now,
That's fine.
maybe it's a case that you're
If we can
conceptually
use this
impoverished
weird,
and you can't actually articulate your concepts, but I have
obviously
no
use
interest
conceptual
in continuing
analysis.
this
That's fine in the
conversation.
conversation. You can just do that. I'm happy to you just abusing conceptual analysis just to get away from the argument. That's fine. That just shows a feeling on your part. This is so sad.
Blue or 11, do you have any comments you want to make? Like, do you think it was like appealing to say that it'd be totally fine for like someone to kill Moxie if he like fell into like a coma and like they just so happened to like attach themselves to him like unintentionally? Like, do you find that like to be like an attractive move to make in a debate?
No.
Interesting.
Wait, Moxie,
Is
I'm
that all?
curious.
Really? It's just like I don't find it aesthetically like like who cares? Hello?
Yeah, I mean, just like talk more about like the meta, like the
Wait, what if there
conversation.
was like 10 people that unintentionally did that? Can we unalive all of them?
Yeah, do you have like like would there be like a threshold there?
Jesus Christ! It's all just like performance and no substance. Like I
I'm
asked
just
you the
asking
truth
you a
of
question.
premise
Can you answer
two.
the question?
I it is
It's
now
just,
they're now doing the
just
weird
yes
double
or no.
standard. You're
If
just
there's
doing the
like
double
10
standard
people,
there. We're like,
just yes,
I want to get linear with
just
you
yes or
guys, but
no.
never the same. Like,
Okay,
what are we
can you
doing?
just stop like rambling? Just say yes or no. If there's like 10 people that did
Jesus
that, can we
Christ!
unalive all 10 of them? All 10 of them, sorry. Yes or no? Or
If
like
If Leo's not gonna discuss with me in a good faith manner, in addition to just like not
so
being and just
is
stop being
the
the weird
answer
performance
if
stuff.
Leo is not going to discuss with me? Is that your answer to a yes or no question?
Like I'm not. I mean, Moxie, I don't mean to be rude. Like I don't generally have many. Like if someone just like bites a bow like that, like it's not. I don't really have too
I
much
don't
stuff to
care.
say.
Okay, then don't have discussions
Have you
then.
watched like
Stop
have you
actively
watched
like
like
trying to
Oscar
gaslight
stuff?
people and like
Okay,
trap
watch.
them
Wait,
in
just
conversations where like you're not going to
okay. Can
engage
you
with
just
them
calm
in the way
down?
in the way that
Can
you
you just
are,
calm
you know,
down?
participating and also
Can
like
you just calm down?
appearing
Like,
as you're going to
what should
participate.
ask yourself do if someone says like it's totally fine to kill their mother if their
What are
mother
we?
lacked
What?
human
I'm
DNA?
so sorry
Like,
that
what do
you
you
guys are
think that
kneeling
ask
down
yourself
to
to do
ask
in a case
yourself.
like
I'm so sorry. No one has this weird dogma that like, okay, we have to go everything through him. Like, if he agrees or disagrees, okay, we gotta disagree now.
You're not answering
What?
my questions at this point. I still fuck with Moxie. Like Moxie's like a real one. I'm just not too interested in having a further conversation about abortion ethics, unfortunately. I hope like I didn't say anything that personally offended you.
Dude, you're an awful dude. You're actually like a piece of shit.
Bro, chill. What the fuck?
It's like you posture yourself as like wanting to have a conversation, then you like don't want to actually have a conversation. You
I
just
don't
want
know
to
what
like
else
look
there is
people.
to say. I don't know
You're
what else
just
there
doing
is
the
to say.
performance thing. No one, no one's
Like,
like this.
what
Everyone
else is
knows
there
you're
to
doing the
say?
performative
Dude off
thing.
the live, bro. Kick this dude off the live, yo. This dude mad and
Like everyone just knows that you're obviously doing it for like being performative, and like that's it. Like
no one cares, bro. Just take
Okay.
the compliment and shut up, bro. God
I did
damn.
not appreciate that.
Who's
But
Like,
like,
just learn
Orby?
how to debate,
Dude,
bro.
you're a random.
Just
Stop.
calmly debate, bro. No, bro,
Orby,
calmly
you're
debate.
random.
You're trash.
Please pipe down, please.
Oh, I'm a
oh damn, he actually got kicked. Okay, well, okay, I did not. I was actually like genuinely offended by that, Moxie. Like, I actually like fuck with you, but if that's how it is, I guess that's how it is. I generally debate in this way. I don't really like reasoning with people who think it's like totally fine to kill coma patients. That's generally kind of like a boundary that I like to set in my conversations. The same way I wouldn't really be interested in talking to someone who is okay with killing black people.
Why are we doing this weird thing? I asked you to justify that weird assumption you have, and then this is the thing. This is the thing that
Wait, Mark,
you're
can
doing.
can I please get like my point across? Like what I'm trying to say here is just that that's like a boundary that like I like to set in my conversations.
my
If someone's
God.
totally fine with killing coma patients, I'm probably not too interested in talking to them about that specific issue. Obviously, we can talk about different issues, but that's generally like a boundary that like I like to set. Like, yeah, if you're totally fine with like fucking nuking coma
Oh my
patients
God, this guy's
in those contexts, I probably won't talk to you too much.
dude. This is done, dude. What is wrong with you?
Bro, it's not that deep. It's really not that deep.
You're doing the thing. You're just still doing the performative thing. You never drop it.
Not that
You're like a
deep.
troll.
Wait, Moxie, it's not that deep.
Oh my God,
It's
what is wrong with you?
Wait, you're aware that it's just like not that deep.
I want to
right?
be clear. Everyone is aware that you're doing the thing. You're not being honest. You're just like trying to troll.
What am I
like,
being
you're just, like,
honest
doing anything
about?
your
What am I
best.
being
Just, like,
dishonest about?
what are you doing?
What am I being dishonest about? I do have that. Like, you can ask me people.
I
Like,
promise you. You're
if you
still
watch
going
my
to talk
debates,
to
like
people
I will
about the matter
disengage
all
with
the
someone.
time. You
Like,
don't
if
actually
someone
don't
says
have
something that like
in
makes me like
fact,
really
it's the
upset,
case
like,
that like you actually,
probably disengage.
enjoy having people like that in your life. You're doing right now. You're enjoying it. You're having the conversation right now, dude. What is wrong with you?
What? No, I want to disengage. Like, I want to. I fuck with you. Like, I want to be your friend and shit. But like, if you like hate me, then I guess that's how it is. I mean, I just didn't think it was like that deep. I just generally don't like talking to people who think it's okay to
You're an actual troll. What is
kill
happening?
coma patients. Like, I think that's pretty. Is that not like a
You're a
reasonable
troll.
standard to have? Like, I've had family members who were in comas before. Like, it's I don't know.
Uh-oh. Well, he left.
Damn, he actually crashed out. What the fuck?
I didn't kick him. He left. So
Damn, he actually got mad. I did not mean to piss him off that much.